2003. And it's really very black box. When you install reporting services in a newer version of SQL Server, it just magically works. And so there's a web server back there that just gets configured, and an administrator doesn't need to set it up. There's no cross-platform migration between 32-bit and 64-bit, so make sure that you are already on the platform that you want to move to. Of course, 64-bit these days is always recommended, especially on a production server, but you can't move from one to the other. Your configuration settings will be migrated, and in theory, all of that should just upgrade, but it's always a good idea to back those up. And if you have any custom configuration, so if you've added a custom rendering extension or security extension, and that really is an outlier. That's not the case with most SSRS deployments. But if you're in that camp of having modified your reporting services configuration, if you have special components or, let's say, security policies in place, you may need to reapply those policies and those configurations once you're upgraded. And then again, report models and Report Builder 1 reports are no longer supported. So not only deprecated, no longer supported. Will not be upgraded and can't be used in 2012 and 2014. So upgrading from Reporting Services 2005 again is really a pretty simple process. Once you've backed everything up and you're ready to pull the trigger, it really just is a matter of going to the installation center and choosing to upgrade. So let's jump in and do a quick demo. I'm going to jump over to my demo environment. The first thing I'm going to do is I have 3 instances of SQL Server installed on this server for demonstration purposes. I have 2005 with the relational engine with reporting services and analysis services and integration services installed. Here you can see the 2005 Management Studio with my relational databases. So here is the reporting services catalog and the TempDB catalog that's used by that old instance. And if we were to go out and look at Management Studio, you'd see the old Management Studio out there. And if we go to the file system, we can dig down through program files and SQL Server. And in SQL Server 2005, the folder names were a little cryptic than they are in newer versions. But here you can see reporting services. And here under the report server, this is the bulk of our configuration files, all .config files. Good idea to back those up. It's also a good idea to back up this database. So you just want to use Management Studio to back that up. And then the last thing that you'll want to do is use the Reporting Services Configuration Tool. So let me jump into SQL Server 2005 Configuration Tools. And we'll use the Reporting Services Configuration Tool connected to that instance to back up our encryption key. It's always a good idea, even if you're not upgrading, if you're making any changes on a server, to back up this encryption key. So this is a key that's used to decrypt sensitive information that's stored within that instance of reporting services. And it's really just a simple matter of clicking the backup button, providing a password, and then giving it a key file. And I've already done that, so we'll exit that tool. You can see here that here in my backup folder, I have backed up my encryption key. That's right there. I've also saved my password. Now, I would not recommend that in a production scenario that you put your password in a text file in the same folder as your encryption key. But you want to make sure that that's in a safe place where you can get to it. Because 3 years from now, another administrator is going to want to upgrade, and they're going to need this information. So it's good to keep it on hand. So I've backed up my catalog database. You'll notice that I didn't back up the TempDB database. I think it would be more convenient to back up both. But the Report Server TempDB database doesn't store any objects or any data that has to endure an upgrade or even a server rebuild. So it's not necessary to back up and restore that database, although it might be more convenient if you needed to roll back. And then my configuration files, this is just for safekeeping. Now I go to the installation center, and I can first of all, make sure that my hardware meets current specs and that I have the right version of the .NET framework and other prerequisites installed. But if I'm ready to do that, I simply upgrade, provide a path to my SQL Server 2014 install media, and we work through the process. Watching that process in a demo is probably analogous to watching paint dry, so I'm not going to do that. But it really is a simple process. This is much like installing SQL Server, although some of those steps aren't necessary. So you'll be presented with things like service accounts and the features that you'll want to upgrade. Note that we do upgrade the entire instance. So you don't get to pick and choose, just upgrading reporting services and leaving analysis services or leaving the relational engine. You're upgrading an entire instance at one time. And we can imagine what that looks like. So once we've done that, we should have we should have our report manager with the new look and feel here, and we should have all of our reports in place. Of course, I launched that, so it opens up over the top of what I was doing here.
Paul, does that actually upgrade the reports themselves to the newer version of the RDL?
It does not. Now, and that's an interesting topic because that's not necessary. So upgrading the server is obviously necessary. The server and the services need to be in place, but current versions of reporting services actually support all of the old schema, RDL schema versions. And I'll actually demonstrate that here real quick. So if I jump over to my projects, all right, so I have an old Reporting Services 2005 project in this folder. And if I go and open that with Visual Studio 2013 with SSDT for BI installed, you can see that it launches the upgrade wizard. This is actually going to upgrade the project, not the actual reports. It's going to say, okay, this is a one-way upgrade. This project will be upgraded. And this should be pretty quick because it's really only affecting the project and maybe the solution files. Then it gives me this report, and you can see a summary of everything that it did, but it didn't actually touch the reports. Mm-hmm. And these are the same reports that are actually sitting out in my new server right now, and they're going to run in that server just as well as reports that I had authored with the new tool. So if I jump over to my project here, and if we view code on one of these reports, we see here in the XML schema that this is actually the old schema. Mm-hmm. And it isn't until I actually touch the report in the designer that it will upgrade that schema. So we go and touch that report. Let's go ahead and run it just to demonstrate that the upgrade works.